Hello, and welcome back to Skypothesis. We believe Skyrim to be an endlessly replayable game. We created this channel to share our ideas and character builds that have helped us reach a deeper roleplay experience. We take inspiration from characters found in every corner of fantasy to create unique and immersive roleplay builds. This week, we're excited to share our next character, the Jade Huntress. This elite archer is always on the move. With incredible speed and precision, she runs through the battlefield like a whirlwind, leaving all of her opponents in the dust. Trained from birth to become a literal force of nature, animals and wind obey her every whim. With the Animal Allegiance shout and the Bosmer ability Command Animal, you'll never be without woodland allies. This is the most fun we've had with a combat archer, and are so excited to share with you what makes her so special. So without further ado, it's time to showcase the Jade Huntress. The Jade Huntress grew up in a small tribe in the pristine jungles of the Green Shade region of Valenwood. There she was isolated from the rest of her kind, and followed her parents in their worship of the mysterious Wilderking, a deity worshipped by many Greenshade Bosmer. Little is known about the Wilderking, but legends say that he is able to pull a fully grown tree out of a seed and lift flat earth into a hill. He has full control in shaping the forest, trees, and everything within. Per the Skyrim wiki, the mantle of Wilderking is continually passed down by the Wilderking to a mortal born with an innate and powerful control over nature, who will be brought to the throne of the Wilderking so that the previous Wilderking may die. After adopting the title, the mortal soon loses all memories of his or her previous life. The Jade Huntress's parents were quite fanatical in their worship, and were convinced that she would become the next Wilderking. They trained her in the ways of the forest, how to command animals, walk with the wind, and land an arrow in a bullseye from hundreds of meters away. When bandits attempted to raid the village, the Jade Huntress would make quick work of them, pinning their corpses to trees with her arrows and blowing them from the treetops by harnessing the power of the wind. Her parents, along with other members of the village, adorned her with precious stones of onyx and jade, already beginning to treat her as deity. She enjoyed her simple life of training and protecting, and looked forward to the day when she would be brought before the aging Wilderking, until one fateful day when a young Breton adventurer traveled into their village. She sat around a fire with the villagers and told stories of her travels through Tamriel. From the frozen north of Skyrim to the blistering heat of elsewhere, she told stories of fighting pirates in the Iliac Bay and digging through dwarven ruins in Morrowind. This young Breton had seen so much of the world, and had so many stories to tell. The Jade Huntress realized that she wanted so much more than the burden of deity. She had never even left her village. If she were to stay, her memory would be wiped clean, and she would live out her days as a figurehead, never leaving Greenshade. In a spur-of-the-moment decision, she slipped away quietly in the night with the adventurer, and left her family and future behind. Her spirit was one with the wind, and would not be tied down by tradition. There were so many new sights to see, and so much to learn about the world. The roleplay begins as you are captured crossing the border into Skyrim. At this point, the Jade Huntress had been traveling the continent for years, and had become comfortable with her nomadic lifestyle. She parted ways with her Breton friend about a year previous, and was hoping to find her again in Skyrim, the land she spent most of her time. Unfortunately, the Huntress was in the wrong place at the wrong time. This character is a wandering free spirit. The intense desire to delve through every cavern and sweep across every climb should drive her roleplay. The Jade Huntress has an intense case of wanderlust. Every new corner of the world is beautiful to her, along with every new piece of knowledge gained. She is not a scholar by definition, but has a great desire to learn of everything that is in the world. As you venture across Skyrim playing as the Jade Huntress, you will find yourself quite distracted from your current quests by passing caves, towns, mountains, and ruins. She is a chaotic, good character who will help anyone in need, and only needs to be paid with experiences and the joy of feeling like she has accomplished something. She is a huntress and lives off the land. She only kills when she needs specific alchemical ingredients or leather. Animals are her allies and friends. To fit her nomadic lifestyle, we chose a non-upgraded version of Lakeview Manor for her base camp. This cabin is located in the green forests of Falkreath and feels fitting for her. The Jade Huntress is all about speed and movement. Previous Elder Scrolls titles have featured enchanted items that increase your movement speed, along with acrobatic skills that allowed for better jumps. Unfortunately, these abilities are not featured in Skyrim, so we are augmenting speed and acrobatics in different ways, namely shouts and poisons of slow. Through augmenting the world around you with these abilities, you get to the exhilarating feeling of being much faster and more agile than your opponents. In terms of questlines, she will uncover her destiny as the last Dragonborn, take down Mirak, thwart Harkon's plot to blot out the sun, and gladly do any quest that allows her to explore, fight, and be an all-around hero. You can honestly justify doing almost every quest in the game with this altruistic Huntress, barring morally evil questlines like the Dark Brotherhood. Any quest revolving around the natural world is a great fit for the Jade Huntress. Relevant side quests include Kind Sacred Trials, Blessings of Nature, Ill Met by Moonlight, and the White Phial. Moving on to the Jade Huntress's weapons and armor. For her bow, she will carry the glass bow of the Stag Prince. While Zephyr would be a functionally superior choice, it doesn't quite match her aesthetic. The glass bow of the Stag Prince can be purchased at the Ramshackle trading post and fits this build perfectly. Every 20 animals killed with the bow grants a blessing of 5 additional health and stamina points when the bow is equipped. The blessing caps out at 25. It's a great incentive to get out and hunt, though she shouldn't mindlessly kill animals that could be her allies. We wanted to make a pure combat archer in the Jade Huntress, so even though many archers use one-handed to augment their archery when up close, she will stick exclusively to her bow. Her large pool of stamina, in addition to the Ranger perk, will allow her to do this. If you've never played a combat archer before, you will find that zipping through enemy lines and peppering them with arrows while being always just barely out of reach is an incredibly fun way to play the game. You will, of course, want to use any arrow you can get your hands on, but if you're going for looks versus damage output, we found that iron arrows look the nicest. Feel free to use your favorite arrow type though. Thalmor soldiers may wear glass armor after level 36 in-game, but we always like to kit out our builds as early as possible. We have always found Skyrim's full glass armor set to look a little bit too much like a Power Ranger. To give her more of a natural feel, we chose leather boots and bracers, and found that these help her look more like an elf of the forest. For her headgear, she will wear the Temple Priest hood, as it matches perfectly with the glass armor, and creates a really unique jade-colored ensemble. The only way to obtain this hood is by killing a Temple Priest in Solstheim, so we like to roleplay that the priest was actually evil and causing problems behind the scenes in Raven Rock, and needed to be taken out for the temple to survive. For auxiliary gear, wear an Amulet of Talos for shout cooldowns. While she does not worship Talos herself, she recognizes the power she gains when wearing it. You will also want a Ring of Magicka to allow for the casting of Whirlwind Cloak without allocating many perk points into Magicka. These can be purchased from merchants across the map, so it is wise to always be checking for them. If you are not opposed to using glitches in your playthroughs, stacking a few Amulets of Talos will allow you to use shouts necessary for the roleplay at an increased rate. Stacking 5 amulets will eliminate shout cooldown completely. We generally avoid doing this as it hardcore messes with the game balance, but it's absolutely worth mentioning when building a character focused on speed and movement. To stack amulets, you simply give them to a follower and equip them from their inventory straight onto your person. Moving on to the Jade Huntress's spells and shouts. She is a force of nature, and we roleplay that her control over Magicka and the Thu'um are a direct result of her powers over nature as a former wilderking in training. She will be using the Whirlwind Cloak spell to sow chaos as she dances gracefully around the battlefield, sending her enemies flying. For shouts, she will use Cyclone to augment Whirlwind Cloak and Whirlwind Sprint for increased movement options. Slow time is crucial for this build, and we like to think that instead of slowing down the world around her, she is actually using stored energy to move through the battlefield at a lightning-quick pace. She will also make great use of the Shout Animal Allegiance for when her racial ability is on cooldown. As often as your shouts are not on cooldown, you will want to cast this shout in the wild. You'll find foxes, deer, wolves, bears, and saber cats in places you never would have expected. Using the shout as often as possible creates the feeling of a powerful aura. No animal can resist aiding this elf. She will not attack them unless hunting for food or ingredients, or if they are causing serious threat to innocent townsfolk. The Jade Huntress has a specialty poison of slow that she applies to her enemies to enhance her own speed in the battlefield. This poison is called Jade Toxin and is made by combining the common death bell with large antlers. While there are other ways to craft poisons of slow, we chose this combination because large antlers provide for a fun hunting minigame. In order to prepare a larger number of poisons, you will need to spend a great deal of time in the wilderness hunting deer, elk, or even veil deer. This provides a very unique hunter-themed gameplay and makes Skyrim feel fresh and unique. A lot of times players, including ourselves, want to hunt in their roleplay but have no reason to without mods. This poison will give you a reason to hunt in addition to leveling the glass bow of the Stag Prince, and it's super fun. you will want to level her with a ratio of 3 stamina to 1 health. The idea here is to have a basically endless pool of stamina, so you can run non-stop during combat. If you're having trouble finding a good ring of magicka in the early game, you may have to drop a few points into magicka so that you can cast Whirlwind Cloak. After you drop a few in magicka, you can follow the normal ratio fully. The Jade Huntress will be using the Steed Stone instead of the Light Armor perk Unhindered. The only difference, besides the Steed Stone's added carry weight, is the fact that the Steed Stone allows all worn items, including clothing and jewelry, to be weightless, not just light armor. While this is an extremely subtle difference, we figured that it would be worth it. We don't want every single one of our builds to use the Atronach Stone. With this stone, she can truly move like the wind, completely unhindered by what she wears, in addition to more carrying capacity for cool stuff she finds on her quests. She is, of course, a wood elf, granting her the racial ability Command Animal, in addition to a nice base stat boost to archery and alchemy. By the time you reach level 40, you will want to take the following perks. Keep in mind that we choose level 40 as a checkpoint, because this is about the time when most builds take shape. In archery, you will want to perk the entire tree, with the exception of the second perk in Steady Hand, which we found unnecessary for this build. The 20% chance of a critical shot, along with a 15% chance of paralysis, will make you a very dangerous combat archer. In smithing, you will follow the left side of the tree up to glass smithing. You will want to grind up smithing as soon as possible so you can have access to your glass armor early on in the game. You will take the novice through adept perks in destruction so you can have access to casting Whirlwind Cloak for half magicka. This cuts the cost down to 169, so a ring of peerless magicka will cover the casting perfectly if you are able to find one. In light armor, take all 5 perks in Agile Defender to increase your tankiness, as you are a combat archer, not a stealth archer. Finally, in alchemy, you will want to perk the entire tree, barring the experimenter perks, as alchemy guides exist online, and it is easy to roleplay this knowledge coming from the Jade Huntress herself. If you plan to play past level 40, you will do well to put more perks in light armor for better protection, in addition to alteration for flesh spells. As it stands though, this archer packs a powerful punch, and can easily weave in and out of her foes with blinding speed. Alright, it's time to move into the best part of every build, the special moves. We create special moves by combining weapons and abilities from the game to form the basis of gameplay unique to a certain character. The Jade Huntress's special moves solidify her as a lightning-quick force of nature, and are super fun to pull off. The Jade Huntress's first special move is more of a passive ability that we call Aura of the Wilderking. It is performed by repeatedly using the Animal Allegiance, Shout, or Command Animal ability when in the wild. As mentioned previously, you'll find animal allies in places you never would have expected. When combined with an Amulet of Talos, you can shout again before the effect wears off, allowing you to create a sizable following of woodland friends. It's super rewarding to stack up animal allies while traveling through the wilds, and then lead them against your enemies. Her second move is called Acrobatics, which is a combination of Slow Time and Jade Toxin. This is the move to use when you're surrounded by a great number of poisonable enemies. To avoid getting overwhelmed, first shout Slow Time, and then poison enemies closest to you with Jade Toxin to slow them down further. In your enemy's eyes, your speed increases tenfold. You are able to dance through the battlefield, dodging blades and arrows, slowing the toughest enemies down to a crawl. Finally, we have Ariel's Desolation, which is the combination of sun-hollowed elven arrows fired from Ariel's bow into the sun and the Cyclone Shout. As enemies are lifted up high into the sky, bursts of pure sunlight strike them back into the ground, cursed by the very sun that gives them light. The Jade Huntress learned this move from her friend, the young Breton treasure hunter, who taught her all about magical relics. And with that, we are ready to wrap up the Jade Huntress. Stamina and speed are 2 things rarely focused on in Skyrim builds, so we thought that we'd try our hand at a stamina-focused combat archer. With Whirlwind Sprint and Slow Time at the center, along with special poisons of slow made from ingredients found hunting in the wilds of Skyrim, we feel that we have made a very unique archer in the Jade Huntress. Her gameplay feels amazing, and we can't wait for you to give her a try. Thanks so much for watching till the end of this video. We hope you enjoyed the build. We have a few more awesome builds to share with you this season, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you can be notified when they go live. Thanks so much for your support in helping us keep the magic of Skyrim alive. We'll see you next time, right here on Skypothesis.